Okay, so we're back for our second segment of this conflict resolution series, and I'm here with Alana. And we are going to talk about how Alana, how her conflict resolution studies have helped her in her job now. So she works in the not for profit field, and I'll let you tell a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah. So I work in the field of disability support and mental illness as well. So it's kind of evolved. I started working more on a smaller scale and just getting to know people kind of in their day to day. And then as my career has blossomed, I still focus on that, but I'm starting to get into the big picture things of how is the day to day going to affect you from a year from now, or how is it going to affect people in your life, and understanding those different dynamics of conflict resolution. So one piece we were talking about before was the tools, and so one thing that I do quite a bit in my job, and I teach our staff now, that's my present day job, is to learn how to do paraphrasing and reframing, because especially in the field I'm in, we're doing a lot of translation with the language that we're getting from our participants. So sometimes they'll explain something and they'll say, oh, I'm so angry about something, but they're smiling, so it's hard to understand what does angry mean. Are you actually angry by our definition? And where is that coming from? And so those conversations can go down quite the rabbit hole. But if you're not offering a chance to kind of reframe and say, I heard you said you're angry. It seems like you're happy. I'm a bit confused. Could you please explain? And help them explain.
Yeah.
Those tools are really invaluable in getting to know somebody a little deeper.
Wow. So it sounds like a lot of that clarifying that goes on, and asking good questions, which is something in the conflict resolution field is a huge thing. Is how to ask a good open-ended question. You're
Love
always
open-ended
questions. Love those so open-ended questions are those that start with, what, how, where, lesser why. Why can sometimes come off a little aggressive, but those are kind of the questions that start with those words, and really open up conversations. So it sounds like you can kind of get down to what the problem actually is with your clients and what they're facing.
You'll learn quite quickly with closed-ended questions how you feel like you're not getting anywhere and you keep hitting a wall. And even if you feel helpful and you're saying it genuinely and you're asking happily, if you're asking those closed-ended questions, someone will shut down because they don't feel valued, they don't feel heard. And what I've heard from clients is they say, I can't trust you. And it seems to breed that. So when I do my trainings now, with staff, we do practice with both closed and open, and often what I hear from them, they'll always say, oh, the closed just feels so awkward, and I feel like I'm not getting anywhere, and I don't want to do this anymore. And so then I said, but think about that from a client perspective, if we're trying to get that. And so then that usually kind of opens them up on a professional level, but I often have them coming to my desk the day after saying, I tried it with my husband or my wife last night, and you were right, open-ended works. And it's not something you necessarily have been taught or think about on a daily basis. And in conflict resolution, we were always practicing that, I would say, on a daily basis. And so now I'm lucky enough to work in a field where I still get to use it on a daily basis. So it's become best practice in personal and professional life for me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I find the reframing piece is so important when you're sharing your perspective, and you're also you're doing perspective taking, so getting a perspective from someone else, and then sharing that perspective is huge, because you can reframe things and reword it and make it to the more positive, to something that, like you say, you're not shutting the person down. You're really making them feel valued and validated, and I hear you, and this is what I hear you saying, but you're framing it in a more positive way.
Absolutely.
That's really key. And then we were also talking about what kind of one of the interesting things about I think maybe occupational hazard of having taken the training is sometimes we don't think of active listening as a skill, which is kind of odd, because most people, don't really engage in active listening on a regular basis. So active listening is that focused listening where you're really listening to what the other person is saying. And I think that's one of the benefits that we got from our studies. I think, Alana, you would say this, is that they drilled that into our heads
every day.
A lot of the skill building pieces were about active listening, about the paraphrasing and the reframing. So that was really key. And then you kind of touched on something, and I thought maybe we would share that here in the series, about one of the great profs you had, like one of the things that he had taught you about kind of analyzing conflict and all the different layers.
Yeah, I'm not sure what module we were on, but it was a really complex concept he was trying to explain, and it was all verbal approach. And there were only 8 of us in the class, and there were 3 people furiously scribbling notes away, and the rest of us were kind of lost. And I personally just had kind of a breakdown, being